I went to this restaurant,
Yes.
and I was with Dino De Laurentiis' wife, the wonderful Martha De Laurentiis, a producer, and I was at dinner with Martha, and David Lynch came with Raffaella De Laurentiis. Raffaella is daughter of Dino, and her first husband. And so, because they were family, we said, let's got the table together. And so we all sat together. And David that evening found out that I had just finished White Knight with Helen Mirren, and he wanted very much Helen Mirren to be in Blue Velvet playing my role. And he kept on saying, give me your phone number. And I said, no, because she's a star. You don't give out phone numbers of stars. And then the next day I received a note with a script, and he said, in second thought, would you like to consider the role? And I read it, and I understood it was controversial, but I called David and I said, David, and I called Marty too. Marty interestingly said, Elephant Man is a great film, but look at Eraserhead. Because Eraserhead was much more the signature of David Lynch as an author, and he loved it. So I called David and I said, David, let's have dinner or so. I would like to test a film with you, because I want to totally understand what we are. That character can be played in so many different ways. And to me, it was the portrait of a battered woman, maybe somebody who had a Stockholm syndrome. And David didn't really want to talk so much about, a lot of directors, they don't want to have a lot of the backstory that we actors create for the character. They just want to see what they are seeking in their head. But David called Kyle MacLachlan, and David, Kyle, and I improvised the scene a little bit like actors do when you have to flush out the dialogue. You don't just say the lines that you know by heart, but if you have a fight with your husband, they say, okay, for half an hour, fight with your husband, and you flush out what these few lines that collapse in 1 minute to fight say. So we did that, and David seems to be, and I seem to be in complete agreement on the interpretation of Dorothy Vallens, the character, and that's how I got the film.
It's an extraordinary movie. I mean, controversial, I suppose, at the time, but has really stood up over these many years. Tell us about getting into character, were there any tricks? I mean, she's wearing a wig, but we know she's wearing a wig. There are certain...
Well, yes, I think that was the intent. I think David was so kind and so trusting of actors that I said to him, I studied to be a costume designer, and I would like to be able to create the look of Dorothy, because I think she's hiding her, like a lot of battered women, they're very secretive. And so I want to be like a doll, because I have to hide behind that facade. And so the wig, the blue eyeshadow, the red lipstick, everything has to be kind of perfect, because she is a doll and she's hiding this torment. And I remember David gave me wonderful images when he was directing me, because some director can be very articulated. David is not, but he emotes a lot, so you can just follow. But he would say to me, "The clouds are coming," and so when I sing, sometimes you see her breaking, because David had given me "The clouds are coming," and they gave me a wonderful image of this anxiety and this torment that could invade her. And so, yes, when Blue Velvet came out, it was very controversial, but some people liked it. And I think it was 10 years ago, when it was the 20th or 25th anniversary, there was a screening at MoMA. So I wrote to David, MoMA, Museum of Modern Art, can you imagine?
At that time, the most popular film critics were Siskel and Ebert.
Yes.
And they had a big disagreement about Blue Velvet. One of them loved it, thinks it was an all-time classic film, Siskel, I think, and Ebert did not like it, and thought that you were taken advantage of. And the other guy said, she's walking around New York City right now. She's fine. I mean, like, it's acting, you know?
Well, I have to say that I haven't read. I try to avoid reading reviews because they can hurt. I mean, even if they don't intend to hurt, or even if they are so, but you always remember, and they give you such insecurity, you know, so I try not to read it. Inevitably, there is a friend that calls and says, why did that person say that about it? So I remember, I remember that I ran into Ebert, Roger Ebert one day, and I said, and somebody said, you know, he thought you were used. And I thanked him. I said, it was so kind of you to think that I need protection. You know, I'm an adult. I mean, okay, I just did that film. You know, I did it with consciously. And he was just taken back. I wasn't at all scolding him. I was really thanking him because I thought, how nice of him to be worried about me.
Also, I think it's kind of, I mean, I think that the fact that there was this intellectual debate between two critics over something like that was probably healthy for
It reflected the debate that there was at the time the film came out. Some people loved it and some people hated it.
Yeah.
I think the Post wrote about me, Ingrid Bergman to rise from the grave, for she's been dead, and give her a citizen arrest.
Well, actually, also, were there nuns who were praying for you?
Yeah, my nuns. So I grew up in Italy, and I went to Catholic school. And my nuns, I felt so bad for them because they felt guilty. They felt, what did we do for her to play this role? And I remember writing them a long letter saying, but she's a battered wife, and you always protected women, and I was explaining all my background that I created, and David Lynch, I think, is a great artist, and and they just answer, well, we're praying for you, and yesterday, Sunday, we gave a mass, and we'll collectively pray for you, which I thought was very touching, because there were people that wanted to protect me in case I was Dorothy Vallens, but I just played Dorothy Vallens.
Well, and we'll talk about your current role in Conclave as a nun a little bit later. What did your talent...
It's interesting, because I always find it, because now I'm doing press, and there's sometimes Blue Velvet comes out, and it's funny because both roles represents women in an incredible situation. In a way, Blue Velvet, she's a singer, she's beautiful, she looks like a doll, and she's a battered woman, completely broken inside. And in Conclave, I play a nun who never speaks, who is very subservient, but has enormous authority. So it's interesting because you can play opposite of, what you assume. If you're a nun, you're, very... No, you can have authority. I mean, my nuns had a great authority. But we'll get there.
One other thing I wanted to mention, because I don't want to forget Dennis Hopper, who was just this nightmare vision of a villainous character. But I wonder what filming those scenes was like, because there had to have been some sense of levity on the set when he's sucking in some kind of gas and then going after you. But it wasn't as scary as it looks in the final film.
Shooting is not as scary, because especially beating and all this is all choreographed.
Yeah.
You have a person, 1, 2, 3, punch, and you go like this, and the other one, and the camera. So it's very mechanical. Sometimes what looks horrifying when you are in the audience. I remember, two things about Blue Velvet, and I'm Ingrid Bergman's daughter. Laura Dern, she had done Mask, and she played a character blind. And when David hired me, then he had Kyle, and he had me. And then he called me saying, Laura Dern is going to play the ingenue. And I thought, how interesting that he had hired a blind actress. Because she's ingenue, and so is the symbolism of not seeing. So when I first met Laura Dern, and she said, nice to meet you, I grabbed her hand. And then I said, careful, now there is a step. She said, yeah, I can see it. You can see it? I'm Ingrid Bergman's daughter. I should know about acting. I was completely fooled by Laura's incredible talent. And Dennis Hopper came last after the three of us were cast. And David called me and said, we have Dennis Hopper. I said, Dennis Hopper, really? How is he? And he said, he's like a ticking bomb. Dennis had just come out after 3 years of rehab. And he was a fantastic man because he had done the journey through hell and back up.
What did your talent agency, ICM, think about Blue Velvet?
They stopped representing me. Twice agents stopped representing me. I have no luck with agents. I have no luck with agents. I don't know that I'm giving the right answers. It's twice I've been rejected by agent. And I think that I see my father was the ultimate experimental filmmaker, if you want. So I feel very comfortable when there is a new talent, somebody that does an original film. So when I did the film with David, my agent dropped me. And you know who called me? Tom Loddy, the great Tom Loddy, producer Tom Loddy, who created the Telluride Film Festival. And he offered me a film. He loved the film. He loved Blue Velvet. He offered me a film with Norman Mailer called Tough Guys Don't Dance. And the film was not successful at all. But he gave me, to be with these guys of enormous talent and appreciated, made me feel like I can continue being an actress even if my agent doesn't want me. And then it took a while, a few years, and then another agent came. And then that agent, I wanted, Guy Maddin was a Canadian avant-garde filmmaker, sent me his script and several of his reels, and one was 7 minutes long. I said, oh, look at that. And he was Heart of the World. I don't know if you're familiar with Guy Maddin's film. He has now a film out with Kate Blanchett called Rumor. And I just saw this 7 minutes film, and I thought, this is incredible talent. I want to work with you. So I asked David Lynch, can I fly to Winnipeg and meet with you and talk? But, and my agent said, if you're going to work with Guy Maddin, I slash my wrist. So I thought it was a joke. I worked with Guy Maddin. Also, he said, I cannot represent you anymore. Well, I didn't have an agent for another 10 years. Yeah, directors called me, and now I have an agent. I feel very good. Because I get more work when you have an agent.
I did want to say, if people have not seen The Heart of the World, go on the internet if you can, or wherever. It is
the
one of the
Criterion
most,
Channel.
Criterion
Sorry to
Channel.
push it, but it is the best. Isn't it? Because in the Criterion Channel, there is all this support. It's curated. You have interviews with the director, with film critics, with historian. It teaches you about film. It's amazing.
And we will maybe talk a little bit more about Guy Maddin. I think that there's a theme, though, of doors closing, doors opening, doors reopening.
Maybe for everybody in life. I don't know.
Yes, I think so.
Me,
So you also stayed with David Lynch and had a relationship with him for a little while, and also appeared opposite crazy Willem Dafoe in Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
I've actually interviewed him on this very stage about his character, those teeth that were like on top of his real teeth. You're also, because you're his girl in the movie.
Yes.
It's a elevated performance, and I've heard that Frida Kahlo was an inspiration for you.
Yes, I remember one more time I said to David, let me create the look of this character. And Frida Kahlo had just come, I was not aware of her, and I remember walking in a bookstore and seeing a book with her image and looking at it and being fascinated by her because she was attractive and repellent at the same time. She has this thick eyebrow and sometimes a little mustache, and yet so appealing, the clothing and the stories she tells about her torment. So when I read the character in Wild at Heart, my character had the most beautiful name, Perdita Durando. And so I said, can I look like Frida Kahlo? Because I think Perdita Durando should be sexy, appealing, but also repellent. terrifying in a way. And so we created, I had the thick eyebrow, the blonde wig, but with the roots black. And I even drew a little mustache, but David said that's too much. So we took the mustache off.